So here's a little note. After I finished this video, an interview came out with the game's director, John Garvin, who said that if people actually liked the game, they should have bought it at full price. Now, apparently he wasn't specifically talking about Days Gone, he was just talking about games in general. But it obviously is impossible to disconnect that from the last game he developed, Days Gone. And while I generally understand his sentiment, when Days Gone was released, it was hot garbage. It was full of bugs and problems and mistakes. This game was not worth $60 when it was released. And when people rely on reviews to decide which games they're going to buy, it's no wonder that people simply waited for Days Gone to go on sale. It is unfortunate that things only continue when they make money. Now, all that being said, this video goes into why it deserves a sequel, but it's still kind of ridiculous for the director of the game to kinda blame the fans for the fact that there isn't a sequel. Anyway, here's Days Gone. Days Gone was supposed to be another one of Sony's big blockbuster first-party games. A post-apocalyptic biker open-world action horror third-person shooter.
That's so much stuff. You just kept on going.
It was the finale of Sony's 2016 E3 presentation, and what it showed was incredibly exciting. A man running through a decrepit sawmill being chased by literally hundreds of zombies.
Don't say that. What? That. The Z word. Don't say it. Why not? Because it's ridiculous.
Excuse me. Freakers. We see him unload clip after clip of bullets, set traps, blow up barrels, and throw Molotov cocktails. Every so often he would seem to just escape the clutches of the horde. And just when you thought it was over, dozens more appear for the horror to begin again.
That sounds very scary.
It seemed bigger and more action-packed than The Last of Us, Sony's other zombie game. Infected. Sony's other infected game. So naturally, people were very excited. And after a few delays, Days Gone was released in April 2019. And the reviews were okay. The main criticisms were technical bugs, a bloated story, and repetitive gameplay. And it seemed to drift away like so many so-so games of the past, only to be referenced and revered by die-hard fans. That is until it got a next-gen update for the PlayStation 5. So 2 years later, let's see how it does. So the first issue, the technical bugs, are for the most part solved. I said for the most part. There's not much pop-in, textures are mostly solid, and the whole thing runs at a smooth 60 frames per second. So 1 point for the update. There are still some dumb AI and various minor glitches, one of which actually required me to kill myself to restart the checkpoint because the enemies just didn't spawn. But overall, pretty smooth. What was the second thing? A bloated story. Ah yes, and that's exactly the same. The story hasn't changed. Which is a shame, because Deacon St. John is a great character. Stupid name, but a great character. And the story of him mourning and then looking for his wife, Sarah, is engaging enough. But there is just so much around it. So much unnecessary filler that, yeah, it's pretty overstuffed. There's some camps and you get jobs from them, and they get pretty repetitive. After a few hours, you are just doubling back over the map looking for bounties, killing raiders, and clearing areas of freakers, and repeat. Much of the dialogue and exposition is delivered in dull walk-and-talk sections where you walk a bit, watch a cutscene, walk a bit, watch a cutscene, again and again and again. Some missions literally have you drive for 5 minutes to a new location only for you to say 2 lines of inconsequence to another character. And while traveling is usually pretty standard, there are marauders and rippers that get in the way from time to time. And because the majority of Days Gone is traveling, time to time happens quite frequently. I swear if I hit another one of those wires, I'm going to kill somebody. There is fast travel, but it is dependent on how much fuel your bike has. Oh yeah, by the way, you have to monitor and refuel your bike, or you'll wind up out of gas in the middle of nowhere and have to walk the motorcycle back.
Fuel. 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 I think we got a big problem.
It's one of those neat features that is interesting at first, but very quickly becomes a nuisance. And while you are traveling, you'll be bombarded by constant radio calls from camps and friends. Seriously, it's insane. It makes me want to go bowling with Roman.
Nico, it's Roman. Let's go bowling.
And while most of the cast is very well acted, like Deacon, some are just not. And this all just adds up to a very uneven game. And none of this was helped by its original marketing. The massive zombie hordes shown at E3 and seemed to be the standout feature of Days Gone are buried under hours of gameplay. Some people who played it when it was first released didn't even play long enough to see them at all, thinking they were somehow misled by false advertising.
You liar. Why would you make up a lie like that?
And they're kinda right. Taking on these hordes doesn't amount to much gameplay of Days Gone. They are exciting moments, but in an otherwise dreary game. And it's dreary because Days Gone is both a product and a victim of its time. In 2015, when Bend Studio began its development, the critically acclaimed The Last of Us had just been remastered and re-released. The Walking Dead was the most popular show on television. Zombies were at a pop culture peak. So an open-world biker zombie apocalypse game with a unique feature like massive hordes of hundreds of freakers seemed like a no-brainer. Get it? No-brainer? Like zombies, because they have no... Anyway. Unfortunately, video games take quite a while to make. Years, in fact. So by the time it came out in 2019, the moment seemed to have passed. The Walking Dead itself was dying, going from its peak of almost 15 million viewers per episode to 4 million. The Last of Us Part 2 had already been announced, and most people would simply wait for that game for their zombie fix. So a diminished audience interest, combined with a more popular game series return on the horizon, not to mention poor reviews and technical issues, Days Gone never really stood a chance. And that's just too bad, because despite all of its problems, I really like Days Gone. It tells a mostly compelling story of Deacon St. John and his wife Sarah. The world is large, and mastering your bike's drift to fly around corners and down hills can be lots of fun. Most of the weapons are unique enough that they have individual value. There are many small details like snow accumulating on your jacket and bike. And every time I'm getting bored by the story, an interesting side character comes up, or there's a beautiful musical interlude, and running from a horde whilst shooting behind you and simultaneously throwing explosives to thin the herd is exciting. There is a lot to like. And unfortunately, this is all just very bittersweet. I am a really big fan of sequels.
What?
Let me rephrase that. I am a really big fan of the potential sequels afford. Not all games hit it out of the park on their first try. Studios do their best, but until the public gets their hands on it, a game is really just a theory, an experiment. Mechanics and gameplay, story and pacing, it's all a guess by the studio as to what works the best. And sometimes they guess wrong, and that's okay. Uncharted is not a very good game. I mean, it's fine. But Uncharted 2? Portal, an interesting tech demo. Portal 2? Brilliant! Batman Arkham Asylum, very good. Could it ever be improved?
You did it. You crazy son of a bitch, you did it.
A sequel allows a developer to hone in on what worked and what didn't, to expand on elements that enriched the experience and dropped things that were universally hated. And for 2 years, I was excited for Days Gone 2. I knew there was a gem in this mess, and a sequel would help it shine. Unfortunately, we have recently learned there will not be a Days Gone 2. Apparently, Bend Studio did pitch the idea to Sony not long after the original's release. Sony said no. So we'll never really see their true potential, and that's a shame. However, there is some light at the end of this rather depressing tunnel. 1, Days Gone is one of PlayStation's free games for the month of April. So hopefully, if anyone missed it the first time, they'll give it a chance. And 2, Days Gone will soon be releasing on PC, with improved graphics, uncapped frame rates, and a new ultra-wide aspect ratio. And I hope this will at least keep this game alive for some time longer. It deserves to be played. Yes, there is bugs. Yes, the story is too long. Yes, it gets redundant and monotonous. And yes, it's worth your time. Things are a bit of a mess at Sony's game studios right now. It's almost as if they don't know what they should do next. Maybe if enough people downloaded Days Gone this month and buy it when it's released on PC, Sony can see this game has potential. 2 years later, Days Gone is finally a polished game, or at least as polished as it's going to get. It's as playable as it's ever been, and it may take some time to warm up to, but it's worth it. It's worth the investment, if only to show Sony that there is an audience here. And much like the freakers that await you, Days Gone may rise from the dead once again.
Zombies! There! Here's a picture.